The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Go then. There are other worlds than these. Death, but not for you, gunslinger. It's time we had our own palaver, I think, and it's going to take a while.
And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew. Child Roland to the dark tower came.
We are quartet, one from many. The palaver begin.
Hello and welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. This is our podcast covering Stephen King's magnum opus, The Dark Tower series. My name is Tad.
And I'm Peter.
And we are moments out of the movie for our first showing. And we actually have a lot more people in the chat than I had anticipated.
Yeah.
Being a work week and stuff. But glad to have you guys all here. Glad to have you all part of this. And I'm not sure if we have any emails from any of you guys or if you'll be reacting here in the chat. But let's get into the intros real quick first off. And then we will get into discussing the movie. I think there's a lot to discuss. So first off, we want to warn you guys about spoilers. Now, I guess not only about the 7 primary books of the Dark Tower series, but also now the film. This episode and probably the next few episodes will spoil freely of it. So if for some reason you haven't seen the movie and you're listening to this, be mindful that we will spoil freely of it. Also, you guys can find us on places such as iTunes and Stitcher and any podcast service. If you're listening like on iTunes and you want to subscribe to us, you can do that there. Also, if you guys want to rate and review the show, you can do that on iTunes. That would help us out a ton. And also, you could look for our show notes at darktowerpalaver.com. I don't think we're going to have any show notes for this episode, so it'll just be a straight up reaction show. So don't worry about that. But in our general episodes, you can find that. You can find where I post articles that we talk about, or pictures, or anything, or videos. You can find all that there if you're listening to the standard podcast. Next up, this is a palaver, and this includes not just Peter and myself, but you guys, the extended quartet. And so with that, we want you guys to join the palaver. So Peter, how can they do that?
Best way to reach us is through email. It's darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, which is facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. We're also on the Twitter. It's @darktowerpod. That's @darktowerpod. Also, we just hit 100 subscribers for YouTube, so next time we will have a direct URL for our YouTube.
Yep.
But as it is now, just search for Dark Tower Palaver. Next week we'll have that URL up, and we'll probably post it on Twitter and Facebook here in the coming days.
Yep, absolutely. Yes, that is indeed the case. So, as promised, we just got out of the theater, and I still don't know how Peter feels about the movie because we didn't speak a word about it. We rode together to and from the theater, but we made sure not to mention anything about it, so I am just as much wondering what he thought as you guys are, and I'm sure he's thinking as much about how I thought as you guys are as well. So I guess we'll just gotta go ahead and dive into it. So I guess you guys, if you are on our social media, you also would have seen we sent out like a 19-question thing to kind of give some slight guidance on the reviews if you guys wanted to send them into our email. Not necessarily required, but it would give you some ideas of questions to answer if you were unsure of what to say in your reviews. What we're going to do is we're going to go through first off just me and Peter and just talk about the movie in general, and then we'll kind of go through those questions, and then we'll read through those and give you our answers, and then we'll jump into the emails. We've got quite a bit right now. I think we got about a dozen emails currently.
And if you have not sent in an email, if you're still thinking about it, or you're going to, I know that someone just said in the chat that they haven't sent in an email, they're going to. Please do. It's not just this episode. We're going to be taking your emails about the movie. It's going to be ongoing.
Yeah,
especially with international.
International
viewers,
in a couple weeks are going to be seeing it for the first time, and right now they're all probably dark on the podcast. They won't be listening, so we will have them joining us back in a couple weeks when they see it. So, but yeah, in the next month or so, I'm guessing is going to be really heavy on movies. So if you don't get your email in until a little bit later, that's fine. We will still get to it. We want to hear from all you guys because everyone obviously is going to have different opinions, and we want to hear it from everyone. And even this episode, hopefully we can get through all 12 emails. We are okay with doing a longer episode, but I mean, within reason, for way up there and I don't know, in a way higher time slot. We still haven't got through all the emails. We might even have to push some of the ones we have off now until next week. So we'll see how that goes, though.
Right.
So I guess we will go ahead and just get started with it. So Peter, what did you think?
Man, that Emoji movie was fantastic.
I actually, he's like, dude, if we go to the theater and it's the Emoji movie, I will kill you. And I'm like,
straight up go to prison. I was not even kidding.
I'm like, wow, that is like so diabolical. I really wish I would have thought of that. You know, I even, honest to God, started thinking about it. I'm like, dude, I could have like paid off the theater people to like play the right trailers for the Dark Tower, but then switch it out and play the Emoji movie. Oh, I wish I would have done it. But no.
Hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay, so I loved it. I figured I knew I was gonna love it, but oh my gosh, dude, there was so much in there for Dark Tower fans.
Yeah,
like I mean, I kind of see
Stephen King fans.
Stephen King fans, like I freaked out when I saw the Saint Bernard, not only because of Cujo, but because I am a huge fan of Saint Bernards. They're my favorite kind of dog.
And you also had a mom and a son.
And a mom and a son with the. I was like, oh my gosh, that's Tad. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, little boy Tad. Yeah, there was a lot of great stuff in there for Stephen King fans.
There was
so
much.
I mean, even to start off, one of the title cards, we didn't get an MRC title card for the thing.
It was Ted Corporation.
Ted Corporation with the turtle.
That was so freaking cool. And then there was a rose in it too, wasn't it?
I can't.
It's at the beginning of the movie, so it's hard for me to remember. But I remember. I swear there was a turtle and a rose in the print for Ted Corporation.
Yeah. Yeah, I somebody asked in the chat if we stayed through the credits. We actually didn't because we wanted to get back and record. Everything I'm seeing online though said that there wasn't anything after the credits, so I didn't think that it was even worth staying and sitting through those because chances are there was nothing. So yeah, I guess I'll just give my answer then as well. I enjoyed it a lot. I think that like I didn't really necessarily. I mean, there was a few gripes I had about it, but overall, I really enjoyed the film. I thought it was good. You know, I think like I had a few issues, but we'll kind of get into that as we go along. But overall, I like the film a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that it's been a really exciting point to get here with all the development and stuff. And I just think it was just kind of like finally to see it. It was almost surreal. Like I feel like part of it, I almost felt like I was just kind of like in a daze a little bit. And that's I can't wait to go see it again just so I could like finally focus on it more.
Take it in a little bit more, yeah.
And that always happens to me. I mean, like I remember the Force Awakens was the same because like there was so much hype with that movie that by the time I was in the theater, it was like almost surreal that I was even there. That like it wasn't until the second and third time that I was like, okay, like I'm getting this movie a lot more now.
Now it's sinking in.
So I think that's going to probably have to be something for me to see it a few more times to get outside of that realm of like, I don't know, surrealism of like, whoa, dude, I'm actually watching a Dark Tower movie. Like this far later, I mean, we're talking, you know, we just like really last night at work, we were talking and realized that we're only a few months shy of a 10-year anniversary of when J.J. Abrams bought the movie rights. So the movie has been a reality for almost 10 years, which is insane. And I mean, most of us have read the books earlier than that. So we have been waiting even longer because the moment you get through some of the moments of the book, you're just like, I need to see this.
And we were talking about this on the way to the theater to go see the movie is that, man, have we ever anticipated a movie as much? I mean, like, we were talking about, like, The Force Awakens, for me, was a huge anticipation just because I thought Star Wars was done.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, my gosh, it's coming back. You know, I want to see what they do with it. This isn't George Lucas. Let's see what happens. So it was all exciting and everything like that. But with Dark Tower, man, it's just so different for some reason for me.
Yeah.
Like, it pulled me so much. Like, I heard the call of the tower and the beams and everything like that to be involved with it and everything like that. And that's one of the reasons why we started this podcast in the first place is we were hoping there would be a movie eventually.
Yeah.
Because we started this well before, you know, Ron Howard. I mean, Ron Howard was involved, but
it was
Nikolai wasn't signed.
It was in developmental hell. We fully expected that, honestly, this podcast to be centralized on the books and then the movie stuff would maybe just be like guess what? They just got dropped from another studio and now another studio is picking it up. Like,
here's our fifth rewrite and shit like that.
Yeah, we almost figured that this podcast would be like 90% books and like 10% of like wallowing in the self-pity of the fact that the movie would never happen.
They were in developmental hell. And then all of a sudden, less than a year after we started, poof.
Yeah, like it was weird because it was only a few months in of when we started that we started getting like, you know, Nikolai was confirmed and then the actors and everything. And it was just like, holy shit, like this is real. And yeah, so I think that, I mean, like that's just some first blush stuff. What about some, like, I guess before we even get to the questions, just overall is like, what stands out to you?
Oh, man, I loved Tom as Jake. I know that's one of the questions. How would he do and everything? I'm sorry, I'm going to go right into that. He was the best part of the movie for me.
Yeah.
Easily the best part of the movie. He fucking nailed Jake Chambers.
Yeah.
He nailed it so perfectly for me.
Yeah.
And that's what kept me in the movie. That's what kept me, despite all the little gripes I had, just like you said, there was little things here and there and everything like that. Just because I love movies so much, I'm going to critique it.
Yeah.
But Tom playing Jake was fantastic to me. I thought he was phenomenal.
Yeah, I think he did a great job. I also think the Catherine Winnick playing his mom was incredible for like such a small role that she had.
She was
good.
I
think she did a really good job. I mean, I'm not familiar with her other work in like Vikings and stuff like that, but I think that she did it. I did like there was one scene when she was having some sort of emotional reaction, and I was just like, you know what? This is. I think it was even just like concern at one point when she's talking to Jake and like he leaves or something, and she's just like, you could see a concern. I'm like. That's real. And then
yeah.
I don't know enough about Catherine Winnick to know if she's actually a mother or if that's just actress being, or an actor being an actor. But I think that there was just a bit there where it really took me not out of the movie, but it took me to a point where I was like, okay, wow, like she's doing great. Like that was pretty awesome. But I overall, like I said, I enjoyed it. There was a few things like Easter egg wise, like did you notice? I think it was in the Dixie Pig. Roland slapped up against a Rita Hayworth poster.
Totally missed it.
Yeah,
I missed. Apparently, I missed a lot of Easter eggs because someone said there's Christine in there. So I totally missed the car.
It was the little boy. His friend is playing with the car in the room.
Oh, okay.
It's Christine. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. There's that. But I saw the Rita Hayworth poster. I'm like,
that's
look,
awesome.
Rita Hayworth.
That's
like,
awesome.
That's kind of cool. But there's that. There's like some cool Easter eggs and like the Sombra being the company that's like trying to get him basically.
Yeah.
I actually missed it early in the film. I was trying to look at the guy that was there with the lady to pick him up. I tried to look at his jacket, but I kept missing. What does it say? Because it was like quick cuts and stuff. And it wasn't until later
when he sat down with Flag.
When he sits down with Flag,
Walter.
that it's like, okay, that says Sombra. Yeah. And then later on in the film, obviously we see like the trucks that say Sombra.
Yeah.
Also the terminal that Jake has at the Dutch Hill Mansion says NCP, so North Central Positronics.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. I'm wondering, like, I don't know, like, so I don't know if the chat's talked about it yet. Sorry, guys. I actually should be able to follow the chat a little bit more because I have a little bit less to read on like stories and stuff. Normally I have the stories to read through. But has anyone mentioned like Jake surviving the film?
Yeah, that's come up right here where a couple people said that Jake should have died. It took away a little bit from the relationship.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I could see that. I was actually fully expecting him there at that tail end to die.
I thought that's what the shot was going to be.
To basically, well, not even that. I don't even know if it would be that or if it'd be almost a self-sacrifice and see Jake like kind of like fold the shine in on itself to kill himself to stop
to blow up Devar Toy.
Yeah, absolutely. I was totally I was expecting him fully to die. I was like, started the scene, I'm like, okay, like 20-30% chance he's dead.
Yep.
And then as it kept unfolding and he gets to the point he's doing the Gunslinger Creed and his eyes close, I'm like, he's fucking dead. Like 90% he's dead.
Yeah.
So I was actually kind of surprised that he survived. What that means for the larger story, I definitely don't know. I mean, we've talked a lot about how important all that is, but at the same time we are in a different cycle.
Exactly.
So like we're talking about a different Roland. We're talking about a Roland that wouldn't let Jake fall necessarily. I mean, in this
I think that
during the course of this movie, early on he's kind of forsaken the tower and he's all about his vengeance, but I think that's because he still he has more of his soul intact. So all the shit that he's seen in his life has affected him. I mean, and I don't know about the comics because I haven't got into those full bore yet, but I can't remember, like, the books definitely don't address his dad dying. So his dad dying in that way was pretty, I don't know, shocking in a way. But
and I like that. I think it's right here. Travis Boone just said, "I didn't mind Jake not dying. His mother dying sort of bonded them, and having Roland save him the way he did was epic."
Yeah,
and see, that's one thing that we've talked about is that if we want to save Roland, if we want to break the cycle and everything like that, what does he need?
Yeah, he needs to choose.
He needs to choose his CAW members instead of the tower.
And
he did that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if he's gonna, or in this case, he chose Jake over his vengeance, which has kind of replaced the tower as his obsession.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've seen that Roland can choose a CAW member instead of his obsession, whether it be the tower or whether it be vengeance.
Yeah.
He got his vengeance by listening to Jake, by doing what Jake was, Jake helped him with the Gunslinger Creed and everything like that. But then he didn't abandon Jake. He didn't let him fall, as it were.
Because
he very well could have.
This is a different Roland.
Right.
I think this is a Roland that Gann has interfered in his life a little bit. I also just noticed we have 19 people in our thing. I have to point that out. 19 people in the chat right now. That's bidding.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's 19.
I don't have a stat thing here on my
yeah,
phone.
Yeah, I do because I guess because I'm running the stream. But yeah, we have 19 currently. So
That's awesome.
That's pretty cool. Another thing that I have to point out is I couldn't help but think of Star Wars in the middle of it because with Algo Ciento and essentially the destruction of Algo Ciento, it looks like. I was thinking to myself like, this actually is a lot like Star Wars. Like Lucas originally had a trilogy idea for Star Wars,
right? And
the end of the trilogy was going to be the Death Star, but he basically got to a point where he's like, I don't know if I'm going to get
a sequel,
any sequels.
Yeah.
So I'm going to move the Death Star up to the first movie, keep it self-contained, and then obviously the Death Star would reappear in the later film. And I couldn't help but think of that while I was sitting in the movie about like, oh wow, so we've destroyed Algo Ciento. In the minds of some of the audience members, we may be like that now that element is safe, but I think any of us know that if we do get sequels, that I believe that later on down the road we'll see there's multiple locations like that, and that are still attacking the tower. So it's one of those things that will reappear, kind of like the Death Star in Star Wars.
Right.
So it's kind of cool. Like I don't know why, I just kind of that jumped out at me as we were watching it. So I also, I guess we can even just talk a little bit about with like the critical response. We can talk about that a little bit. Overall, I definitely would disagree with a lot of what I've seen. I mean, like I was telling you guys on social media, I haven't really read any of the reviews. I've looked at headlines and like looked at the Rotten Tomato score and stuff like that, but I haven't gone in and read anyone's like in-depth criticisms. But I would definitely say that I think that with that, like, I don't know, and I posted like kind of a little like mini essay on our social media things about that kind of stuff, and I really feel that film criticism is pretty much a joke to me anymore. It really feels like everyone's just kind of like in this echo chamber, and it just feels like no one has the guts to actually like have original ideas and original like if everyone's hating on a certain movie, I feel like everyone feels they have to do that.
They got to pile on.
Yeah, and rather than like be the guy that's going to be the
I disagree.
The guy or the lady that's like, no, I actually love this movie. I just don't feel that you have that kind of guts in film criticism anymore, and I think the internet has done just terrible harm to film critic to the whole element of like film criticism and stuff. And I just feel that that's kind of what it is with this. Like, and I feel like there's a lot of people that are in the that run like blogs and stuff like that have been following the production of this. And I feel like in some cases, some of those people have made up their minds a year ago that they weren't going to like this movie.
Yeah.
So,
well, and then the other thing is that I saw there was one thing that I said earlier was that I read a couple of the reviews, but I did like the first paragraph to read and see what, okay, what is this person basing this opinion off of? Usually you can tell in the first paragraph what they're basing it off of and everything like that.
Yeah.
The majority of them are, I have no idea what the Dark Tower is supposed to be about, but it's not about this. And I'm like, okay, well, wait a minute. First off, and one of the things that really bothered me is that everyone I've seen posting reviews and stuff like that are like, man, whatever the book was aiming for, this movie missed it. This movie is nothing like the books. I'm like, well, it's not supposed to be the books. Like, how many of you are professionals that don't understand that this is not a book adaptation? For the millionth time, this is a sequel.
Yeah.
This takes place after the books. This is like if they took Harry Potter, okay, 7 books. All right, well, let's talk about Harry Potter in his 50s. Well, this has not the same feel as Harry Potter in the Chamber of Secrets. Okay, well, yeah, but it's a different freaking feel because it's not that book being made into a movie.
Yeah.
It's after. It's a different cycle and everything like that. And they just can't understand that. They didn't even try to understand that. And then I saw in one article, it's like, whenever you see a movie delayed, you automatically know that it's going to be bad. That's a bad sign. I'm like, no, wait a minute. A movie being delayed is automatically a bad sign?
Yeah.
Like, every single time? Because I'm pretty sure 2 Star Wars movies were just delayed over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And yet, Force Awakens and Rogue One have still received good reviews. Like, that's illogical to just put that blanket statement on there. Oh, it was delayed. That's obviously a bad sign.
Yeah.
I hate that.
I have to point out, Pete in the chat here says, I think Walter walked past all the critics, raised his hand, and said hate. That's awesome. Definitely well played. Well played. I like that.
Someone used to make that a meme. Just have Walter with his hand up, like the little wave that he does to that little girl, and just be like, hate, and then just have all the critic reviews there sitting on the bench.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, but I think that like with the critics, like honestly, like I just don't feel that I'm like, and this isn't just a Dark Tower revelation for me. For a long time I felt that I'm not really into like I'm not really like liking the critics a lot. I mean, it even happens with like popular movies. There's times that like movies nowadays are getting like 97, 95, 6% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's like, okay, does everyone legitimately like this, or is this just becoming an echo chamber? You know, like where everyone just can't do their own thing.
Not only an echo chamber, but here's one thing that I've noticed with people's opinions recently, especially about movies, is that before the movie's even made, it's like you said, they made up their minds a year ago that they're going to hate this movie.
Yeah,
that movie
I got that feeling.
Yeah, that movie could have been the next freaking Shawshank Redemption, one of the greatest movies ever made. And there still would have been those people who said a year ago, you know what, I'm not going to like this movie. And they still would have scored it a 1 out of 10 on Rotten Tomatoes, or given it a 1 star out of 4 on their stupid movie blog or whatever they're writing for.
Yeah.
It's just these people get their minds made up and they can't go into a theater with open minds. Honestly, what I would love to see is I would love to see a critic, a movie news critic thing for movies started up where the people know nothing about the movie going in. Like, fine, you know what? You don't have to read about what developmental hell this movie's gone through for 9 years. You don't need to hear about how they fired their director 3 months into filming. You don't need to hear about how there was a rewrite and everything like that. What we need is we need a critic to go sit in a movie theater, watch a movie, and then go, you know what? That wasn't a bad movie. Here's what I liked. Here's what I didn't like.
Yeah.
That is critiquing a movie. Sitting there and following step by step through the process of making a movie and critiquing that, fine, critique that, but don't critique my movie based off of that.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah. And Lou in the chat here says on the flip side, it seems like everyone's ready to love the It movie, and I would totally agree.
Right?
Yeah. I can almost guarantee that one's going to have a high 80 or low 90s on the Rotten Tomato, and I'm not necessarily saying it's going to be a bad movie. I'm just saying that I feel that it's like one of those things like I want to open up, maybe start a website where I could start placing bets on what the Rotten Tomatoes score will be, because I feel like you honestly probably could handicap it, because it's becoming a little bit easier to to guess what's going to come of these reviews. But
over under 92.
yeah, that's probably a good over under, actually, pretty good. But yeah, I think that with film critics, and like I said in like my little essay that I posted, with us here that's listening to this podcast or doing this podcast, we're fans. You know, like there's critics and there's fans. Like, the fans shouldn't let critics dictate to them what to see or what not to see, or what to think of what they see, because we all love the Dark Tower. And I mean, even the critics out there that are Dark Tower fans and they've read the books and everything, you know what, at the same time, their level of fandom might be different than ours. Like, me and Peter both wore Dark Tower shirts to the movie. I know we got multiple people in our in our quartet that have Dark Tower tattoos. Like, there's varying levels of fandom. You know, there's some of these people that I read, like these critics, like, oh yeah, I've read the Dark Tower series, but then like it comes out later on down the road as I'm reading through their stuff, like, oh yeah, I haven't read it in 10 years. It's like, I mean, not that that's a bad thing, but at the same time, like, people in our audience, you know, read it every year, every couple of years, like read it regularly, to where like we're in it, and and that's not like this thing where like it makes us more like, I don't know, more right than they are. But I'm just saying that, like, there's the level of fandom is going to dictate more how you enjoy the film than what I don't kind of what critics are looking at.
Do you want to know one of the worst ones that going along the lines of what you said about how people haven't read it in 10 years? One of the reviews I read started off with, well, I tried to read The Gunslinger in the mid-90s and it just didn't captivate me. I'm like, then why the hell are you giving a review for the movie? Like, obviously your review is going to be tainted.
Yeah.
Like, how can you not professionally pull yourself back from this situation at this point?
Yeah.
That's like someone picking up a Captain America comic book and going, this isn't for me. Well, let me go review the Captain America movie next week. Really?
Yeah.
That's what you're going to do? Like, you're not going to be biased in any way.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff happens. But yeah, I don't want to like gripe too much on the critics. I just wanted to at least address it, because I think it's kind of somewhat of the elephant in the room a little bit, just because it feels like that's kind of thrown kind of a dark shadow over the release weekend a little bit. But I think that overall, I think that like it's been I enjoyed it. I walked out pleasantly surprised. You know, because I didn't know what to expect necessarily, and that goes back to even before the reviews came out. You know, I've been wanting to like this film and stuff, and wanting for it to be good, but at the same time, you never know. There's always that nervousness of like, okay, what am I going in for? You know, are we going in for, you know, something that completely misses like the spirit? Because we've talked about that quite a bit over the last few months. Is like more so than like a straight adaptation. The heart and core of it needs to be right.
Right,
like
and that's what we got so excited about with the trailer, seeing Jake being taught the Gunslinger Creed.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah, so I think that I don't know. Yeah, I think that's all I really want to get into with the critics necessarily. But
Yeah.
we're definitely aware of the critical response. I would definitely say if you're listening and like for some reason the critical response has made you take pause before going to see the movie, and you're listening to this as like, you know, kind of a whatever, like a post-mortem, absolutely stop the podcast right now, get out to a theater and go see this thing, man. Like, you guys owe it to yourselves as Dark Tower fans to experience it, you know.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we've been waiting for. This is what a lot of us have been waiting for potentially since 1982 for some of us. And just go see it and see what you think. Judge it against the books, whether that means you want it to be a straight adaptation or whether you're looking at the core and the hearts of the characters and the universe itself and see how it feels. If nothing else, do that and see what happens. And see what that leads you to in terms of like hopes. Like, do you want a sequel? Do you want the TV series? All that kind of stuff. I will also say, because this actually came out right after the reviews started coming out, and some people, it was kind of funny to see how some of the critics reacted, because, and this will be news to Peter, I don't have any articles right now in front of me. I don't even have the guy's name, but it was like the day after the first reviews came out, the Dark Tower TV show hired a showrunner.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's a guy that has worked on The Walking Dead, so take that for what you will. But yeah, they hired a showrunner. So if nothing else, I will talk about this a little bit more when I actually have some, like, more of a traditional episode. Like, this is mostly reaction, but it is good to kind of know that maybe if nothing else, it's them doubling down and saying, you know what, regardless of it, we're still pushing forward. And if, you know, this movie doesn't end up doing well financially and they can't get financing, then that's one thing. But it doesn't sound like they're discouraged by the critical reaction to where they're going to shut down the Dark Tower film/TV universe shop and go home. So that's definitely good to know, like, for sure. I think that I also have been seeing some articles and stuff that are expecting or guessing that Dark Tower should get in the low to mid 20s million for the box office take. So what that means for things, I don't know. We'll see. But I do know that as much as Peter doesn't want to talk about it, the Emoji Movie, despite having pretty poor critical reviews, did end up coming out in that same ballpark of money coming in, about 20-ish, mid 20s $million last weekend. So it is definitely doable. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So let's go to and Lou mentions I guess, have we talked about that since the, like, Tom Taylor? So at the premiere they had you know, pictures being taken and stuff, and Tom Taylor has grown quite a bit. He's only a few inches shorter than Idris Elba at this point.
Yeah.
So that was pretty shocking looking at some of those red carpet pictures. But, and I guess if a sequel comes out, which is fine, I mean, especially now that we know where we leave off, like, you're not going to go back to a Jake living again after dying. Now you're going to have Jake side by side with Roland, and you could easily have it be kind of somewhat of a flash forward to where, and like, honestly, who doesn't know that kids that age grow a lot? I mean, that could easily be 6 months from now, just like it really is.
Yeah,
like,
real life.
They finish filming, and 6 months later, look how big the kid is. So it's realistic. So let's go ahead and jump on over to the questions, and I'll just ask the question, let Peter answer it, I'll answer it, and we will kind of go through them one at a time, and then we'll jump over to the emails, which right now we are looking at about 13 of them. So first off, how did you like it? Scale of 1 to 19.
I like that you did the scale of 1 to 19, not 1 to 10.
It definitely made me like, cringe a little bit, because I'm just like, oh, it should be 20. Like, it needs to be around. Like, I'm not OCD, but I'm almost there. And there was just part of me that's like, even 1 to 20 would make me cringe, because it should be 1 to 10 or 1 to 5.
I'd give it a solid 17 or 18.
Yeah. I would probably go. I'd probably go maybe a little bit lower. Probably like what'd you say?
17, 18.
Oh yeah, I'd probably be 16 to 17, right in that range. Like, because it was just, I don't know, just. Again, and maybe this will change when we talk next after I've seen it a few more times, because like I said, there's the surrealism of seeing it that maybe is clouding me a little bit, but overall, like, I just really enjoyed it. I walked out having enjoyed quite a bit of it, and I don't know, I thought it was like, for especially for what you're dealing with the first book, I think that they did a really good job of introducing the universe, you know, at least in a microscopic way, because we know that there's like a whole lot more that the books don't even touch on until a little bit later in the series. But they touched on enough of it, and like, I think Idris Elba was great as Roland. He and Tom together as Roland and Jake was awesome. It was good to see that relationship go from, you know, holding him at gunpoint to offering him a place in the quartet, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, that's the beginning of the quartet. So
Holding him off a cliff.
yeah, exactly.
Almost making him fall, maybe. I thought that was pretty interesting to see that.
Yeah, for sure. It was, but I think that's probably where I'd put it. On number 2, did you feel that the runtime was detrimental to the film?
That was the one thing that probably brought the score down for me. I think we could have used a little bit more time with Jake in New York before going through Dutch Hill. That part felt just a little bit rushed to me. Everything else felt fine. It felt like good pacing after he goes through the portal, but I kind of felt like there needed to build up, you know, like Blaine, he needs to build up a little bit of steam to get there.
Show him a little bit more in reality, and that's the kind of stuff that you're going to lose if they're trying to keep it, you know, a cheaper movie that is going to keep things tight and like whatever. That's the kind of stuff, unfortunately, you have to lose. But I could definitely see what you're saying from a storytelling perspective. Show real life a little bit before.
You know, you look at Jake in the Wastelands, and the build up to getting him drawn is a little bit more. There's the psychological effects on him, the stuff that he's seeing, and everything like that. We got one thing at school with the you know, bully,
which is the bully in the It too.
Yeah, exactly. That's Henry Bowers,
yeah.
and then you know, you see a little bit of interaction with him and his stepdad and his mom and everything like that. One meeting with the shrink. I would have liked to see like maybe 2, maybe 3 meetings with the shrink. Maybe not nearly as long. Maybe not with a beamquake and everything like that. I would have just liked to just a titch longer. Maybe 10, maybe even just 15 minutes more right there at the beginning, getting to know Jake, getting to connect with him a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, I connected with him instantly because, you know, he's Jake. I've been reading these books for, you know, like you said, like a decade and everything. But
I think to speak towards that, I really feel that if nothing else, I think most of us would agree that we would want it to be longer. But I do think that that's a little bit more about self-indulgence. We would rather indulge ourselves with more versus does the movie need it? And that's kind of what I was wondering is like, is there anybody that walked out thinking, oh man, that movie was just like, oh, it was mediocre, and if it would have just been a little bit longer, it would have been better. Like in that way, like did the runtime of the movie drop it down significantly? And to me, I don't feel it did. I would have loved to have seen more, just because like this is the Dark Tower. Like, give me a 4-hour movie. But I don't feel that it necessarily like I don't like. Beyond the fact that I wanted it more, I try to remove myself from that fandom element and just try to like, ask myself the question. And honestly, I don't think I walked out of it going, "Man, that movie was just too short." Like as an average audience member, I don't know if an average audience member would sit there and go, "Oh, that was just too short of a movie."
No, I don't think so.
I think that's kind of, but as a fan, I think all of us want to indulge ourselves with a little bit more, obviously. Yeah. And even if that meant like I don't know, more at the end or more at the beginning. I mean, even because like. Shit, just give me a little bit of them going back to Midworld and traveling in the desert, whatever it might be. But I mean, I know that was that tail end there was actually the reshoots, which is interesting too, because we know following the production, that whole hot dog scene was the reshoots. Yeah, and it makes you wonder, like, what was their plan?
It was actually brought up in the chat a ways back that the initial plan was to have Jake die, and the test audiences didn't like it. I have nothing to confirm that. That was just what someone said in the chat.
Oh, interesting.
So that's why they had to reshoot it, because if Jake had died originally and Roland continues on, but instead now they reshoot it, test audiences didn't like Jake dying.
Yeah.
You know, and that goes back to along the lines of what we talked about this a few episodes ago. How can we relate to a character that's supposed to be our hero if he kills a 12-year-old boy?
Or lets be killed.
Or lets him be killed, yeah. So that's that's why I think it was me or you that I can't remember who said it, that said that I'm going into this fully expecting Jake not to die, because how can you have a hero that lets him die, or worse off, kills him?
And in universe, I think, at least my theory, I keep want to make sure I don't force my theory onto you, but my theory's always been that Roland's on a spectrum, and after the last cycle, which is what we saw in the books, that maybe Gan has intervened to help move that needle a little bit down that spectrum, and now this is a different Roland that we experience. Like, so early on, even though he may be a little bit cold towards the tower and stuff, he feels a little bit more caring than the Roland that we saw in book 1. So with that, I just think that maybe it's even wrong in universe for him to kill Jake, or let Jake be killed in this Roland, in
this cycle,
for this cycle, versus the Roland from the last one that was basically a Terminator. So that's definitely something. And I think some people in the chat here were talking about a director's cut for sure. And the test audience thing, I do know, Peter, you're not aware of this, but there was something that came out right about the time that the reviews are coming out, kind of thing. I can't remember if it was the Hollywood Reporter or something, but it was basically talking about the rough terrain that the movies had, and like and we'll get into that in a future episode for sure, but there's definitely a little bit about like potentially even some people stepping in and taking over certain elements from Nikolai and to recraft it, and that the test audiences didn't like that's all a little bit newer on the news cycle, but it is something we'll address a little bit later. But yeah, I think that that's what maybe people are referencing here in the chat. So number 3, how did you like Idris as Roland?
He was good. He was really good. Of the big 3, I'd probably put him third.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I loved Matthew McConaughey as Walter. He was fantastic.
Huh. Hashtag Flag
is
the man.
No, he's still bad guy. Just accepted he's the bad guy. That's why he ended up dead at the end of the movie.
He's not dead.
I got a feeling.
Hashtag Flag lives.
I got a feeling he's not dead.
Oh yeah.
No, I liked him. He was good. I felt there was a little. There was a little. I almost felt bad for him. You know, having to watch your father die, like that's something that doesn't get covered in the books until way later, about how Roland killed his mother, and then you don't even know how Stephen dies.
Yeah,
I don't think they ever really,
unless the comics does it.
Yeah, the comics might cover it, but I've never read the comics. But the books never covered how Stephen dies. So to see his father die after the last battle, which I was waiting for them to say the name and they never did. I was like, please give me the name. Please give me the name. I want to hear Jericho Hill.
Alan in the chat says at the end of the credits there was his whistle.
Yeah, they were talking about that earlier when we were doing the introductions. I was going to bring that up.
Okay.
Yeah, you hear his whistle after the credits. So,
yeah, so he still lives.
Well, one thing that made me think that Walter wasn't dead was, okay, there's a bullet hole in his head, a bullet hole in his chest, yet there's no blood.
And you can't kill the Men in Black, sir. Men in Black is eternal.
Tell that to Mordred.
That's too soon.
Is it?
Way too soon.
Is it? No, but I liked Idris. He was dark, he was brooding, he was haunted, and I think he nailed the haunted bit really well. I love that they made him sick.
Yeah.
I love that they got him stabbed and sick and everything like that. And did you notice which hand was crippled?
Yeah.
It was his right hand.
But also, I wonder then, sorry, because that kind of is a little bit of a tangent, which our show, I guess, is known for.
We're known for tangents.
So they have changed a little bit about I guess the way the tower works. Because in this, it looks like the beams are almost to like hold a force field versus the beams holding the tower up.
Right.
So they've changed that a little bit, and it's basically the tower is, rather than basically encompassing existence, it's protecting existence from like outside things, which makes me think Toadash.
The Toadash darkness.
Yeah. So which means then in that case, would that creature be a Toadash monster then?
Absolutely.
So
and he says that it's a rip, and it happens every time there's a beam
but
quake.
They just didn't put the name on it to where I'm like,
right.
In my mind though, I'm like, that's a Toadash monster.
Oh, that's exactly where I went. Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
And I love that the Toadash monsters messed with their heads.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't just straight up, "Rawr, I'm going to eat you." It was let's mess with their minds a little bit. Let's get in there and mess with that psyche a bit.
Yeah, Scott in the chat says Roland's father died way too abruptly for my taste. That relationship could have used a lot more fleshing out. And I actually think that, again, that's one of those things that for us fans, that's like indulgence, because that's not really needed for this film. But I do 100% believe that will be one of the core principles of the TV series.
I was going to say, can you imagine what it's going to be like when we get a young Roland and a young Steven? Younger, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
Where we get to see the relationship built, and that's the end. I almost wish that if it would have been Cuthbert. But I think that Father's a little bit better and easier for non-Dark Tower fans than Best Friend.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
You killed my father versus you killed my best friend, you know?
And I love Dennis Hathaway as his dad. I thought that was really great. Like,
it
was a short scene and stuff. And like I said, I almost agree with Scott. I would love to have seen it go further. But again, that's more of just the indulgent fanboy that's like, oh yeah, let's do an hour worth of this scene.
Stephen and Roland
yeah.
after Jericho Hill.
Yeah, and I think that I don't know, like that. It was definitely interesting to have Flag kill him and the way in which he did it. I mean, it definitely reminds me of like Flag in general, even if that means the Stand or whatever else. Like just like his power, you know?
Yeah.
Like because in that scene where he was walking through New York City, which we actually had pictures of pretty early on, and we talked about it.
Yeah.
Like that one actually reminded me of a passage from the Stand where it basically says that like, you know, if he walks in your area, like a pregnant woman would have a miscarriage, and
someone develops colon cancer or something like that.
Yeah, like it just goes on this whole this whole like tangent of like just how like wicked he is, and like people can like sense it. And there was just part of me that just like that came to mind with Matthew playing that there. So I think that that was something else. But yeah, I do think that well, I guess I'm getting away from the tangent, going back to question number 3. I'm also trying to keep an eye on the chat, but it's kind of hitting hard and fast. So you'll have to somewhat keep an eye on it. But yes, I'll go over to how did you like the Idris as Roland for me? Interestingly, so you put him third. I'd actually probably put him first.
Yeah,
I loved him a lot, man. I thought he did an incredible job. I think they definitely could have given him a little bit more to play with, but with what they gave him, I think that he did a great job. And I just think that he was super. And I don't see the ranking because I liked all 3, so I don't see the ranking, and even my order of ranking don't say that to see that like the other ones I liked any less.
Yeah.
But I think the Idris definitely killed it for me. I think he definitely captured like that gravitas and definitely handled his guns well and protected his mate.
Yeah.
So protected his quartet. But let's go over to the next one. But so I loved Idris. Probably my favorite of the 3, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But
the good guy.
I also have my Roland Funko now too, so I have at least one of them. So we got Roland and Flag here on the studio table.
And what are they standing on?
The Dark Tower Art of the Film book. So next up, how did you like McConaughey as Walter?
I already said I loved him.
Yeah,
I thought that for a second there, I was kind of like, man, this guy is way powerful. Like I can't understand how he could have got that power, but I felt that it was explained later in the movie when he opened up that cabinet and pulled out one of 5 or 6 of the orbs of the rainbow.
Yeah, he definitely had a few
bends of the rainbow.
Yeah,
like the most we've ever seen in the books is someone having 1.
Yeah,
and we saw that power was a lot, which is why I was like, oh, okay, that's why he's so powerful. Look at what magic he has learned over the course of this run with the gunslingers gone, Roland abandoning his quest, not coming across as many of the bends of the rainbow, and instead Walter has him.
Yeah.
Look at what he's learned from it. I was like, oh, that's why he's so powerful. That's what I took away from it anyways.
Yeah.
And the whole, dude, man, it's terrifying that he can just say to a gunslinger, stop breathing. Boom, dead.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but that kill each other. That was unbelievably awesome.
Yeah, that was great. You actually did lean over to me and whisper that he's creepy too early on, probably about somewhere around the halfway mark. I can't remember after what scene it was, but you leaned over to me. God, he's so creepy.
It was the chicken scene.
Oh, yeah.
When he's cooking the chicken. I was like, oh, my God, he's so creepy.
Just to go back, there's a few good ones here in the chat. James in the chat says, anyone else assume that he drew the smiley face on Jake's wall as more of a flag thing / Easter egg?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I thought.
Oh, yeah.
Flag with the smiley face for sure from the stand. Also, Pete in the chat says, I wondered if the gunslinger Walter talked to on the battlefield then set on fire was Cuthbert.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely could be. Yeah. Although he didn't have the bullet hole there in the old noggin.
Yeah, he didn't get sniped. But different cycle, so Cuthbert's still killed by Walter's hand.
Yeah, it's true.
If that is indeed him.
And then Alan in the chat says, talks about not only that, but with Jake's mom's ashes.
No kidding, right? That was so dark.
I was that was actually caught me off guard a little bit. I expected some darkness and stuff for sure, but I think that that was definitely a little bit more than I had anticipated.
I was like, oh,
when he said he left something for him, I'm like, oh God, what is it going to be?
Body.
But yeah,
that's what I thought.
I thought maybe body. I thought something, but like that was like, holy shit, dude! Like that definitely caught me off guard. But yeah, I think that if nothing else, I would say that it almost feels did the film strengthen Flag? Is he more powerful in this than you pictured him in any of the books?
I pictured, okay, are we talking Dark Tower or all of Stephen King's?
Either way.
I think that he's about as powerful as he is in The Stand.
Okay.
That's what I take from it because of the there's the one where is it in the book or is it in the movie where Flag is walking through the Nevada desert and he thinks about someone and that person dies.
Yeah, I think it's The Stand because that's when he's going to find his bride.
Right. So he's walking through the desert. He thinks about someone and he goes, you know what? I don't like this guy anymore. And poof, that guy drops dead. That's the kind of power I'm seeing from Walter in the Dark Tower movie. And I'm just seeing that equivalent there. Is he as powerful as Walter in the novels of the Dark Tower? No, I think Walter was a little bit weaker then. But I think that I think this is where like flag level power is what I picture here. This is a being that is supposed to be, one of two epic, powerful beings on the earth, good versus evil and everything like that, him and Mother Abigail. Yeah. So, seeing that power in Walter is just, it was terrifying. That's why I said, man, he's creepy, and he knows how powerful he is, too. He had the swagger to back it up. He had the confidence to back it up.
Yeah. So for me, I definitely liked what McConaughey did. I think there's only one of my big gripes of the film is actually in regards to him, my boy. Or especially early on, I noticed it more, but it felt like the accent that he was using was a little bit annoying to me. Okay. Like, it just felt... I don't know. Like it took me out of a little bit. Like because later in the film, it almost feels like it isn't as bad. But early on, in like the first quarter of the movie, like I was almost cringing at some of the stuff. I'm like, dude, why are you doing that stupid shit with your voice? Like it wasn't working for me. So I don't know, like that. But again, I felt less of it as the movie went on. So I don't know what it was necessarily. But I just feel they could have just gone straight McConaughey voice-wise and would have been fine. I don't know whose choice it was. It could have been McConaughey's choice. I don't know if it's his. I don't know if it's Nikolai's. But it did, early on in the film especially, it kind of bothered me. But that's not necessary. But overall, though, I loved what he did. I loved his swagger, and I loved just what they did with him. Because, he was genuinely creepy. The fact, like, with the stuff with the parents, the stepdad and the mom, just everything. I mean, just that little girl that he turns hate. What did he say? Hate or...
Hate.
Yeah, like that was something else. I just good. I mean, the way that the Tahine treated him was also good. Like that's the kind of stuff that like you might miss a little bit, like as a filmmaker might miss. But that's the kind of stuff that really shows you who he is. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because when you're seeing people that are like trying to end the world basically, and they instantly stop talking the second he walks in the room, like that just gives you a weight to a character.
The chick that he burns later in the movie, his like number one sidekick or whatever, she's walking in to yell at someone and sees him, doesn't realize that he's in the room, just instantly stops and reclines her head or
just to hang
bows
her head.
Her head, in respect of like, oh shit, I didn't realize you were here. Sorry, my lord, kind of thing.
Yeah,
and that just shows like his gravitas and everything like that. It's like, oh, this guy's a big guy.
Yeah, and also just to answer some stuff in the chat, I guess don't take what I'm saying about the accent thing to mean that I whatever, like hated the movie or hated his portrayal. It was just something, like I said, it tapered off throughout the movie. But if his accent would have been as heavy throughout the whole movie as it was in the first part, it would have affected a little bit more. But it didn't make me like hate the movie or anything like that, guys. Like don't think that. It's just a small gripe I had with it, is that early on with his accent. It just so that's clear. I did love it, and I loved what McConaughey did, and I'd love to see him back for more.
Yeah, did you feel that he nailed the Walter Flag
like swagger?
Not just swagger, but personality and sense of humor. Like he's always had a kind of a sense of humor that a lot of people
like the chicken thing did that for me. Yeah, like that's something Flag would do.
Yeah,
to be in someone's house cooking.
I don't have chicken in my world.
Yeah, we don't have chicken there, and like that's just like he has like the apron on and stuff. Like that is like quintessential Flag for sure, and that made me think of it. But yeah, he's always so funny with things. Like The Stand gets into that a lot too.
Yeah, Pete goes along the lines here. It says, looks like I've got myself a stalker. That cracked me up though.
Yeah,
that one was good.
That was a good laugh. That was, and also Lou just mentions that Jake's defeat of the House Demon was too easy. The only thing I thought is what I wished, rather, because it felt like later on they explained it that the House Demon was like shut down by Jake.
It was programmed to shut down to shine.
But what I wish more so is if they played it up to where Jake basically like had a burst almost, and it just leveled the demon, you know what I mean? More of like a power, like wiping him out, because that would almost show the audience more how powerful he is. But also, even that, once he jumps to the portal, show the house collapse.
Yeah.
See it to where he destroys Dutch Hill because this burst of like, versus
of shine
versus just being able to hit the off switch. But I think that probably that had more to do with a budgetary thing. Lou would be my guess, more so than anything else. But I think that it would have been just that small tweak would have made it a little bit better for me. But it was even cool to see him. I had no intention of seeing him until we spotted that in that trailer. I had no intention that we would see that here. I thought we were even speculating that he would end up dying and having to go through Dutch Hill a second time.
Right.
And that's when the monster would show up, because he would think it was safe because he went through it before. But,
right.
Yeah, that's definitely something. But yeah, so I loved McConaughey. I thought it was definitely good. Yeah, he had a few good lines, and just like that last battle was with Roland is pretty good. Definitely felt powerful. You versus like in the books, like he's just untouchable. Like the bullets don't touch him.
Right.
Roland tries to seize him, and he just stops him. Like it just I don't know. He almost just feels more like Palpatine in Return of the Jedi. Just he's so powerful, he doesn't have to like concern himself with defending himself. And I'm glad they kind of got rid of that and made it more like Flag went mano y mano with Roland at the end. Like that worked for me.
The other thing also in this one is it seems like Walter was a little bit more driven for his end goal. I mean, he's trying to destroy the tower, which is different than the books. The books make it seem like he's, trying to get to the tower as well.
Yeah.
That's why he goes for Mordred in book 7. He needs the sign of the Eld to get in, right?
Yeah.
And everything. In this one, he's just like, you know what? Screw it. I've tried that, going along the lines of your theory. You know what? I've tried that. Okay, let's bring it down. Let's end it all.
Yeah.
I've tried everything. Let's just do it. I'm done with playing games and trying to get up there and trying to do things my way. All right, that's it. Give me a bazooka kind of thing,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, totally. But yeah, so McConaughey, definitely loved him. Still think that like he was like probably one of the better casting. I mean, there is still part of the fanboy in me that would love to see like a Gary Oldman playing a Flag, just because Gary Oldman's the greatest actor drawing breath currently.
Yeah.
But Matthew did great, and like I said, like the instant they cast him, if you guys remember back in those days, I was instantly on board. And yeah, I think that it paid off for sure. Let's see. Yeah, and then people are mentioning in the chat also some of the stuff from the trailer was obviously cut, but that's par for the course. Every movie does that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's, I don't know. It's usually because I think because their trailers are cut before the film is finalized.
Right.
So by the time the film gets finalized, there's stuff that you've used for the trailer that makes it in that isn't ultimately going to be in the film. So yeah, that's normal. So then number 5, you've already kind of answered. How did you like Tom Taylor as Jake? So you already answered that. You loved him, and I think he did a great job too. I think there was a few times where I wanted a little bit more out of him, but I think that it was more of what they wanted Jake to be. Like I feel like he was playing it a little bit more quiet, and there's times I would have liked to see more
flamboyancy, a little bit
more, just like, I don't know, like just like there were some times he had it, just like that fight, that snappiness, that whatever. There was just other times he just felt like he was just like that sad loner kid.
Yeah.
That's like quiet and to himself. I would have liked a little bit less of that. I mean, I know that is Jake, obviously, but just maybe just like if we're on a paradigm and a scale, rather than dialing it to 7 that they may have, if they would have just dialed it back to like a 6 or a 5, it probably would have done a little bit better for me. Just make him a little bit more of a kid. But then again, I do know that we're also drawing from 2 different Jakes here, because you're combining the Jake from books 3,
1 and 3.
1 and 3, so that probably adds to it. So maybe that's just like not necessarily what I expected, but I liked him overall. I really did. I thought he did a good job, and like his reaction scene in finding his mom's pyre location was a Charyu tree.
Oh, too soon, dude. Come on, man. Hashtag Tad is terrible.
Oh man, now that would have been a good Easter egg. Have Charyu tree up on the wall.
Oh yeah.
Not necessarily. You still have that message that was there, but have Charyu tree somewhere that the audience could see. That would have been something. But yeah, no, I think Tom did a good job. Yeah, definitely. He definitely encompasses the look that you expect from Jake. Like he's literally like the kind of kid that I've pictured my whole life reading the books, like my whole career of Dark Tower, I guess, not life, but ever since I picked up the books and read it, that's kind of what I felt Jake to look like, you know, like whatever. And it just, he pulled it off well. I loved like just throwing the shoe through the portal, like it's just something dumb a kid would do. Like, I don't know, but yeah, I think he did a good job, and I think he's definitely got a good foundation for because obviously he's like our entry point to the film and stuff, and I feel that obviously long term, whatever we get down the road, Jake and Roland's relationship is the heart of everything, and I think that they've definitely got a good place with Tom Taylor and what he's done so far. But yeah, that's that. I liked him a lot. I did. Don't let my small criticism, and like I said, that's probably more of the decision from Nikolai himself than it was like Tom's choice to do the performance. I think he probably had a certain vision of Tom Taylor or of Jake, of what Jake would do.
Yeah.
And me, it's probably just like I just picture him a little bit different, and that's just, I'm sure there's a million people out there, and we all have a million different ideas of what Jake may have been like. But
yeah,
maybe this even fits the books better than what I viewed, which could easily be the case. This is probably a better, closer to what he was, because in the books he was kind of an outsider, a loner.
Oh, he was all by
quiet
himself
and stuff. Yeah, so that was definitely. Yeah, so I like Jake. Next up, number 6. How does the film impact your view of the books, especially that it takes place after the book cycle? So, I mean, maybe it's quick to ask that question, but yeah, how does this change your view of the books, if at all?
It doesn't. I mean, we talked about this a couple months ago. The books are there. They're always going to be on my shelf. They're always going to be in my Audible. But
I just mean, sorry, just because I see where you're going. I'm kind of thinking a different direction. How does it impact, like, does it change, not necessarily like in a bad way, but even just like, is there something about the books that you might feel different now seeing this next step, this next cycle? Like, what have we said since you read the last line of the book and we've been able to discuss it? Like, what happens next?
Yeah.
Now that we've seen it,
okay,
would that impact in any way how you view things? Even if something as small as like picturing some of these actors in those roles now. Like when you see Sayer, you're going to see the Sayer from this movie. Roland, you're going to see Idris, Tom Taylor, Jake. Like,
oh, Tom Taylor is Jake.
Okay.
Like I mean, that's almost exactly how I pictured Jake from the books and everything.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that I and this is just like me being a pessimist. I'm just generally worried that we're not going to get more. You know, I want more. Like, okay, so we had a book. We were left with the start of a new cycle and everything like that. Okay, well, what then and everything?
Yeah.
Well, now I have that. What then? Step 1.
Yeah.
But I need steps. You know.
Oh, for
1
sure.
through 10 and everything like that. So it kind of bums me out a little bit that I'm seeing all this negativity towards it, because that just generally makes me go, now we're not going to get any more. As for how it pertains to the books, I think it fits perfectly.
Yeah.
I think that I'm going to be able to read the books and go, all right, time for the next cycle. Put the DVD in.
But even like the like Dixie Pig, you know, picture there now, like, you know, like
this. No, because it wasn't so much a restaurant; it was a different iteration of it. I'm going to picture them differently. For like the Dixie Pig that I have in my mind with the book is way different than, you know, like that multi-level kind of thing with like shops almost. Like there was one point where a girl was looking through a window, almost window shopping for faces, and I was like, okay, that's different here.
Did you see the
Lobstrosities?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did.
I actually didn't.
You didn't? I bumped you when it came up.
Oh no,
I didn't know. It's when Roland picks up the like the propane explosion tank.
Oh,
he like slams into the wall, does a reload or shoots someone, and there's a tank behind him, and you see a big freaking black shape that looks like a lobster.
Oh, okay, I totally missed it. I was just so engulfed. Again, the surrealism, but also just engulfed in the action. So yeah, I totally missed it. And honestly, I didn't even think about it till after he was like pretty much done with the Dixie Pig. I'm like, damn it. So yeah, for me, I don't know how I think this will probably enhance my pleasure of the books, but not really in a way that's super definable, but just because like we've talked at length about my interpretation of the ending, and I just think that this kind of just adds to that, because if Roland has had like some intervention to where he's now evolving and getting to the point where his soul is being redeemed, this is the next step. I've seen that redemption in this movie. He has more of a soul here. Even early in the movie, he has more of a soul than he did in the first book. Like Roland at square one of this movie is a better Roland than Roland in Gunslinger. Right. So like to me that just so it adds to that. So if nothing else, it's kind of hard to put my finger on exactly. But
I got it. Let me see if this helps you out a little bit. When they start accusing him of not being a gunslinger, man, yeah, okay, he's not a Terminator like how you equate it to.
Yeah.
He's starting to be a little bit more human and everything like that. He feels something.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big thing there in that scene at the village there. Well, we're going to call it a Manny village.
Yeah, they didn't really say that.
No, they didn't. I mean,
but
almost like the Manny village. The village where they get attacked by the Tahine and everything like that. I honestly loved that scene because it's like, you're not a gunslinger, you're dishonoring your ancestors and everything like that. And it's like, well, yeah, he is. Because, you know, they're dead.
Yeah.
They're gone.
Yeah.
He's not.
And he's lived in this world and
longer than any of them.
For a dude that has like more of a soul intact, Like, how do you? I mean, that makes me even wonder. Like, even in like the Terminator Roland that we have in book 1, like, how does he deal with the fact, like, because like that line from Idris about like I've seen the world, like it's nothing but darkness. Fighting it is useless.
Right.
And like that to me is like that's true. And like that reminds me of like watching like Mad Max movies and stuff in the old days, and it makes me just think like, yeah, like Roland there, like maybe that is why he's so bullet focused on catching the Men in Black in book 1, because the rest of the world, like he's not sitting there going around looking for people to help like he was in book 5. In book 1, because, and maybe that's part of his redemption a little bit, but also maybe it's just because the world is a depressing place if you look around for him.
Yeah.
So he just keeps his eyes so focused on those little pyres, the burnt out pyres that the Man in Black makes, and finding the Men in Black, you know?
Exactly.
So, looks like a few people are checking out. Samantha, good to have you with us here. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, I think that, yeah, I think but the Manny Village stuff was, it was pretty cool. But I think that for me, that's how it impacts me. It elevates kind of my theory of how I interpret the ending, which makes me just maybe like it more. And it also is able to like now maybe it's less of a theory for me and more of like the reality of what is going on. So it'll definitely elevate my enjoyment of it. And I think that it'll be interesting to see next time I go through to read how I picture them all, because I've always pictured Jamie Sheridan as Flag because of the original Stan miniseries. But now it might be McConaughey. It's really tough to say. Idris, Tom Taylor. It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, we got that one. Next up, do you feel that the 9 years of developmental hell and decades prior waiting paid off?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I cheered. I bumped you. I was smiling. I was laughing. I was worried. I was creeped out. It gave me everything that reading The Dark Tower gave me.
Yeah.
You know, like for 9 years, the only thing, and this is your thing you've said multiple times now, Fanboy and me wanted more.
Yeah.
That's all it is. I want more. Give me more.
Yeah. We're all tower junkies, and we maybe not, you know, we've been working on the same fix pretty much forever, and now we have a new fix, and we need more.
I want more.
Yeah,
that's what
absolutely.
It is. Yeah,
I would totally agree. I think it's been worth it. I really feel that you know, like looking at that Facebook memory that was mentioned about, like when Javier Bardem dropped out and Russell Crowe was going to come aboard. Honestly, looking back at all those choices, I don't know if I ever would have liked any of those as much as what I liked with Idris. Like I really feel that Idris has just been awesome. Overall. So I think if nothing else, the 9 years of developmental hell, if that's what got us Matthew McConaughey, because he was kind of out in his little chick flick, like purgatory, and Idris was kind of very less known, obviously back 9 years ago or so. So if nothing else, to get these people, I think it's been worth it for sure. And I enjoyed it enough to definitely say it's now. Would I have loved to have seen something earlier? Of course.
Oh yeah.
As the fan, but at the same time, like if it had to come to this timeline now to come out to get like Idris and Matthew McConaughey and Tom Taylor, like I'm all for it, and I think it was definitely worth it.
Pete asked in the chat if we're going to see it again. Yes, we both will be seeing it again. Tad, I know, has already said he's going to plan to see it again. And if any of you have missed the episode, I am definitely taking my wife, who has never read The Dark Tower, to see it, to get an outsider's perspective for the podcast.
Yeah. I'm going to probably go see it at least one more time this weekend. And probably one of the big reasons that honest to God, I was planning on going again tonight. But a friend of mine got tickets for the Book of Mormon musical here in Salt Lake, which is obviously a big thing here in Utah. And I'm going with my friend to that because he invited me. Other than that, if it wasn't for that, you better believe I'd be seeing it tonight again. So probably tomorrow, if not Sunday for sure.
Most likely won't be able to see it with my wife until next weekend. We got a family reunion tomorrow, and then she works on Sunday. So look for her review through me in a week or so.
Yeah, just do a little bit like an interview, take some notes.
Well, no, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask her the questions, basically.
Oh.
I'm going to cut a couple of the questions out just because she's not a Dark Tower junkie like us.
Yeah.
Yet.
Yeah.
I'm fingers crossed here. I'm hoping, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so number 8. Are you excited to see more films and the TV show?
I already answered that.
Yeah.
Next question.
I think I did too. I want more, definitely. If nothing else, the TV show now is going to kind of become my focus, hopefully. Because, like, there is part of me too that wonders, maybe Sony just says, I'm done. We can't do this anymore. But the TV show, if it still gets developed, you know, say it gets picked up. Say Wizard and Glass finishes up, and then they just decide, oh, well, let's do season 2. What's season 2 going to be? Drawing of the Three.
Yep.
And now we end up getting what a lot of people have been wanting for a long time, is a HBO, Netflix, something adaptation of the Dark Tower series, because that's what I've always said is I would have loved to have seen like more of a Game of Thrones-ish adaptation of it for sure, but there is also part of me that always said I could definitely see the benefit of seeing Roland on the big screen.
Right.
So we've had that now. So what if the TV show does indeed go forward, and
what if that's where Dark Tower settles?
Yeah.
You know, and you know what? If that's the case, all right, count me over here every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever it is. We'll have Dark Tower watch parties, Ted.
Yeah, and now if it's Netflix, it would be all at once. Now that would be something else. Imagine just the 14 episodes of Dark Tower dropping. Now that would be something else. But yeah, so I think that both of us are feeling the same thing. We want more, and I definitely have considered the fact that if the movie doesn't necessarily do the business that Sony wants, we may be done with movies, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're done with Dark Tower. And we know that Idris has done television quite a bit. That's where his career was built.
Yep.
Matthew McConaughey would be a little bit tougher to get for a TV show, but then again, Flag is not as present as some of the other characters.
Also, Flag's face changes.
It does. And also, Aaron Paul also does television.
God damn right.
Oh, man. If the day comes that we are looking at a Drawing of the Three and it's not Aaron Paul, though,
I'm done.
You will be crushed.
You
will be crushed.
Don't say that.
Okay, next up. This is a fun one. Number 9. What's your favorite take on Roland? Book, comic, or film?
Book.
You haven't read the comics. So.
I haven't read the comics. Book.
No, and I just mean in terms of because that's kind of almost unfair because you have so much more.
Unfair. There's so much more.
But I'm just talking in terms of like look wise, because chances are in the book you pictured differently. Idris looks different. The comic book looks different because like the comic, like I know for instance he has a hat a little bit more. The book he doesn't. So like I guess I'm more thinking that like visually in terms of like whatever, because the book's obviously going to probably win out on most, because I'm thinking about it now that I've actually reading the question out loud. That's not said in the right way, because it's going to be really hard to compare 8 books of Roland and some short stories,
a series
and stuff,
of comics
and that kind of stuff versus the comics, which is huge, versus 90 minutes for Idris Elba. So
yeah,
I guess I can see that that's a misguided question. So. Alan says, did you guys notice the guns didn't glow in the movies? I actually did, especially on that scene when he's taking the shot, the trick shot to take out the Tahine that has Jake. Yeah, I noticed it wasn't glowing, so that's funny. Lou says, if Sony wants to continue with the movie franchise, they need to pony up more money and match the bar set by Marvel and DC. Need a $150 million budget to do the next one. Yeah, I think the next one would be a lot more expensive. I'm not sure what the budget would be, but I would definitely say it's probably at least double what they spent for this one. I also only saw a headline because I haven't gone through a lot of the news yet, but I do also know that Stephen King, at least in one interview, said that the second one would have to be rated R.
Yeah.
So...
I liked what Alan said here. They could have used the money from the Emoji Movie and pushed it into Dark Tower and saved some humanity by not making the Emoji Crap Factory. Absolutely true.
I do agree with Travis, though. They did manage to pull off a lot with a smaller budget.
Right?
Yeah. I like with the Toad Ash monster, there was part of it, it's like, that's for a movie with such a limited budget, like, it doesn't feel like it necessarily.
No.
So I actually totally agree with that. For number 9 for me, again, because this is like the way that question is worded.
Well, you did say earlier that Idris is rolling now.
Idris did a lot for me. So if nothing else, I'll answer that question for film. In that, Idris is probably Roland for me now. Like when I read the books, I'm almost certain that that's who I'm going to picture, because I just think he did a great job. Although I know a lot more about the book Roland, and I've even read a couple of the comics, so I know probably more about comic Roland than I do about the film one.
Yeah.
But I just love Idris and what he brought to it. So at least that's the way I'll answer that one. Number 10, did you feel the film fit into the established Dark Tower mythology?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that they did a great job. I mean, with the Tahine, I love the way the Tahine were executed as well.
Oh, that was so good.
I mean, just to bring like the breakers. I mean, what else do you need?
The only thing that got me was that they were directly attacking the tower instead of the beams. That was probably the only thing that I was like, you could have stayed true to that.
Yeah, but I think that because of the way they changed how the beams work. The fact that the beams are part of, like, essentially a force field protecting existence.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it is a completely different take, which is kind of hard to, like, fully swallow at first because we're so used to what we're used to. But I could see why they did that. because that makes the tower a lot more active. Like you legitimately have a lot more like this is what's going to happen. Whereas in the books, there's an element of the tower falls, all existence ends. But how do we know that for sure? Like there's for me, there was always a doubt in the books of like what actually would happen if the tower fell. We don't know. Like they all say the world would end and all existence would end.
What they say is that we would fall into darkness, which is assuming the Todash darkness.
Yeah,
which is kind of the same thing that they did here. It's just the manner in which we get there is the thing. In the books, it's more we fall there. Like Martin the turtle raises us up from the Todash darkness, and that's where the Dark Tower was created.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're above that.
Yeah, just real quick. Bev Vincent just joined us. That's and just said, sounds like you guys liked it. Yes, absolutely. I loved it. We're just kind of going through some of the questions we threw out there. But yeah, we loved it a lot, and it's awesome to have you joining us. I can't wait to read your review. We basically just got out of the movie and came on and